Go. You got it.
Okay, so we picked chili, and I talked about all the like cultural holidays and traditions. So we talked about this one in class. It's the Fiestas Patrias, which is like their Independence Day, and that's where we talked about like the Cueca, and she related it back to the square dance. But they also like they have talked about like having fireworks, which is what we do on our Independence Day. So I just thought that was interesting. And then we talked a lot about Easter Island in class, but I don't think we talked about the Tapati party that they have. And it's like all their young people compete to be like the queen of the celebration. And so they like, but it's not just like beauty contest. It's like swimming and canoeing, and then they also have costumes and songs, and like they have to see like they have contests who can tell the best story, like their folk stories, who can tell it the best. um but I related the whole competing for like to be the queen to our like Miss America or Modern Miss, or like although Miss America used to be like just beauty stuff, and they're like slowly changing that, so it's kind of more like Modern Miss, which is like all of the like characteristics and like volunteer hours and a lot more than just a beauty contest. And then the last really significant one was the Val de Vegan week, which is like a whole week of festivity in February. And they like all year long, people try to make their ships like the best they possibly can. And then for this week, they like decorate them, and they have this huge contest, like whose ship is the best, and like sailing on the rivers and like the most beautiful. And that made me think of like the significance of that. It's kind of like people doing Christmas lights, because for them it's like something that people look forward to like all year long, and they're like so proud of their ship when they get it. And like at least the people I know who put Christmas lights up go real crazy with their Christmas lights. It's definitely like a contest for them, even if it's their own little personal contest. And then they like close the celebration with fireworks, which is kind of like what we do here in America. Like a lot of our celebrations are closed with fireworks.
It kind of sounds like a parade too, like, you know, instead of like cars, it's a ship. It's cool.
But it's like right. It's like a whole week thing instead of just like one day.
One day, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I kind of like went off on going off on that. Like I kind of researched like the music that are like Quaker is like kind of like a dance that they use, focusing on like the struggle that they go through, but also like the beauty in it. But they say that's a little outdated, but they still appreciate like the music and the groups and the instruments that they use in the dance, and they use it as like a tradition that they do like during like the festivals and stuff. But a lot of the music is still very traditional, and like it's used in like indigenous tribes folk music, which I think is like very different from like our music, like American music. We have so many different like music genres. Like we don't use like, I mean, we have folk music, but it's very different. Like we don't necessarily just listen to that in our area, or like rather like they listen to just mainly like folk music and traditional music, and they like use that as through like festivals, or they use it as holidays, like or birthdays. Like they use that like more often than we would, to say, if that makes sense.
I don't think a lot of our folk music and stuff is like, it's not a big part of our culture.
No, not at all. No. Like it's very like separated. Like country music is like country, and then pop and hip hop. Like it's very like sectioned into different areas in the US, rather than they use that a lot more than we would say. Like we use traditional like folk. I mean, we have like the Pledge of Allegiance, or like West Virginia Take Me Home kind of music. Like we use it. I feel like everybody knows that song. But, like, they use that more often, like the different kinds of like traditional music more often than we would, I guess, say traditional, if that makes sense.
Okay. So sorry. I did food, and they have this thing called ajiaco, which is a broth with barbecue meat, potatoes, chopped onions, green hot chili peppers, parsley, salt, pepper, cumin, and oregano. And it reminded me of American barbecue because in different parts of America,
Yeah.
there are different types. Like there's like St. Louis barbecue, there's Kansas City, there's Texas barbecue, and but like unlike American barbecue, this is like a soup kind of sort of, and this is also found in Bogota, Colombia, which is pretty interesting. It's like the St. Louis kind of thing, and then they have this thing called arrollado hueso, which is a pork roll peasant style, and it reminded me of a pork roll like when you go to a Chinese food store and get a pork roll because it has pork in it, bacon, garlic, pepper, and cumin. And then they put this chili hot pepper sauce on it. And they drink it with, I mean, they eat it with wine, which is supposed to celebrate the local saint. So I think that's really cool. That's like kind of a bad example, but like communion, how you drink wine or grape juice, I guess, and crackers.
Yeah.
And then they have this thing called caldito de congrio, which is an eel soup, which is really interesting since like most like Chile's as a whole is a coastal country, and it's like a chowder. It has mussels, clams, and it's always steaming hot and served in a plate dish, which I thought was really really cool. And it's always served with a good white wine, or it's supposed to be. It's common in central Chile, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, that's what I read when I was reading about like the music and like the culture. I read that most of Chile is like categorized in northern, central, and southern. Like, and that's it. Like nothing
Yeah.
in between, which I thought was really interesting.
It's just a thin country.
Like, and everyone's different in like north, central, and south. Like completely different, which kind of makes sense with like the U.S. Like we have like west, east, and like Central America area.
Yeah.
Sounds like the whole wine thing. That reminds me of like beer here. Like, you know,
Yeah.
people eat like American food, like they want beer
Yeah.
to go with it. So I mean, it seems like in Chile, if they're eating like Chilean food, you know, like traditional
Yeah.
food. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, drink wine with it. Like
Beer and burgers, steak
Or
and
like
beer.
fish and
Yeah,
chips
yeah.
and beer.
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So kind of like, I don't know, I guess I did my research on like Chilean art, and kind of like Lyric, you were saying, they like it, the art like as a culture really varies like with the
Yeah.
different regions. But I found that there's like these kind of like quilt like things. They're called arpieras, and they became popular in like the 1970s and 1980s. I guess they had like this really regime of like a general that was kind of rude to people, and they would like make the relatives disappear. But to protest against it, I know, I was like,
That was subtle.
that was
Wow.
no, but yeah.
Grandpa.
So they like to protest against the general, they would take these quilts and they would like take all this fabric and put it together, I guess, to make these quilts like showing their life, like their hunger, their oppression, and their fear, and then they would oftentimes sell them as income. So I was like, oh, that's kind of like, it's kind of like, I don't know, I was like, oh, this is just a quilt, like, you know, warm,
Yeah.
you know, you're feeling cold. No, it's a little bit different. It kind of like shows like their culture too, and they still like kind of like quilts or heirlooms here in America. They still kind of pass them along. But I guess it's more of a big deal there, since it was like, you know, my family went through this suffering, and like here's this to show
That
for.
kind of makes I'm like friends with like Mennonites here, and like they make quilts like out of like each person's like, you know, have y'all ever had like a baby blanket? Like
Yeah,
they like make quilts out of like everyone's baby blanket, if that makes sense. Like so that kind of like makes sense what they went through. Yeah, I think it's really interesting.
I wonder if like when people sold the quilts that they had made for like the protest, if they sold them, I wonder if people actually like used them as we think of as quilts, or if they
Yeah.
displayed them. You know, like I mean, we do
I know,
both
they
of
sell
that
them
here in our
internationally. That's what they'd said.
Yeah.
They like would sell them out of the country, because I guess if they sold them in the country, they would get like repercussions for them, since they
gosh.
made it. Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know. Yeah, I really that's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really interesting. unfortunate.
Okay. Anything else to add?
Yes, it's been 4 minutes.
No, I think we all learned a lot about Chile today.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Hey.
Awesome.